All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this amazing video. I am super excited about today's guests, Melanie and Devin Duncan. We recently had a mastermind in New York City, which is just a meeting where a bunch of successful people get together and talk about what's working in business and whatnot. And I knew Melanie and Devin had a pretty successful offline business. And anyway, just through talking to them, I was fascinated with their story and their business and kind of how they run it. And they truly live the dream, in my opinion, where they have a business that is generating, I think, millions of dollars of revenue. We'll find out here in a little bit. But loads of good revenue, good sales, and they have got it to the point where it's almost on autopilot and they're spending very little time. So welcome, Melanie and Devin. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. Thanks, Sean.
We're great. Hi, Sean.
So you guys have a business, or a couple businesses, Custom Greek Threads and Luxury Monograms. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
That's right. Okay.
They're both, e-commerce stores online, and Custom Greek Threads specializes in selling Greek apparel to fraternities and sororities.
Okay, and so these are online stores where people find your products, buy them, and then you guys have a warehouse somewhere that fulfills the shipments, gets them sent out, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we have a manufacturing facility in Southern California, in Orange County, and all of our marketing is done all online. It's something that's very unique to the Greek industry specifically. Most Greek companies go to actual campuses and try the old school marketing way of going to the Greek houses, taking orders, and then fulfilling them.
And that's kind of the funny story, is when we started the company, we were still very much immersed in the old way of marketing. We were going door to door. We were spending thousands of dollars traveling to different campuses, different conferences, not really seeing the return on investment, And so we kind of, as a last ditch effort, our partners had left us. We were really kind of thinking, let's give this a few more months, and then I think we need to scrap this idea. And Devin had the brilliant idea of paying some kid that wanted to search engine optimize our site. And we're like, SEO? What's an SEO? Okay, sure, why not? We've got nothing to lose. And literally, I think it was in a few months, we started making more money in that next few months, getting orders from all over the country. How did someone order from New York City? We've never been there. And so it was this new, and embracing this new world of online marketing. We started doing Facebook ads. We're like, I don't know if this is even gonna work, but pretty much within 6 months we were hooked. We pulled all of our other funding out of doing, foot traffic type of advertising and switched entirely to online. And now we're having our first $2 million year just with Custom Greek Threads this year.
Holy cow. All right, well, this is awesome. So let's rewind a minute. Kind of tell me about the birth of your business.
Yeah. So it was about 5 years ago. We were both in college, and the funny story is neither of us were in the Greek system. So
I find that so hard to believe.
Hilarious, yeah. So we have the largest Greek company in the world now, and neither of us were Greek. All of our friends were, and we were, around it all the time, as anyone, in college life is. But my little sister was actually in a sorority, and we went to. We met up in in Montana at my family's lake house for summer break, and what these fraternity and sorority kids do is they buy their letters, their sweatshirts with the Greek letters on them. They buy them for their little brothers or little sisters when they get initiated, and they give them as gifts. So she was gifting her little sister's first set of letters. And I was looking at it and realized how easy it'd be to make these. And I was like, how much did you spend on this sweatshirt? And I had a little bit of experience with making sweatshirts and customizing them. And she's like, well, I spent $150 on each of these sweatshirts, and she had like three of them to give them. Yeah. And I looked at it and I'm like, this would cost me like $25 to make in probably about 20 minutes. Just, pay for the machine time. I already have the wholesale accounts. I could make, good profit for a college kid just by doing all my friends' stuff at, where I went to school.
So what did you do? Your next steps, you went and bought a couple dozen t-shirts, sweatshirts.
Yeah. So my next step was, obviously going and talking to my Greek friends and being like, okay, is there a demand for this? Is somebody already doing a really good job filling this? And all the stores that these kids were going to were just local mom and pop stores. And because of that, they can only service the local area because they weren't advertising nationwide or doing anything like that. And they also couldn't really scale because they were very dependent on just the local school. So huge complaints were that these kids had to actually go to the brick and mortar store to place the orders, and then their wait times could be months. Actually, it wasn't uncommon, especially during the fall busy season. So there was a huge need for an improved service. So we started looking at how could we better fulfill this. Well, first of all, we want to keep our expenses very low. We want to be totally bootstrapped. So we're like, let's throw up a web page, and that'll be our store.
Okay, so that was did the web page come before you made your first products and went to your friends and said, would you buy this, or?
No, we went to our friends and were like, hey, is there a need? Is there demand? Learned all about the local store, went and kind of, spied on them, checked it out, saw the machinery they were using, made sure we kind of understood the basic process.
Yeah, I mean, it progressed many stages from there, but it started with, some recon in a quilt store and then working, manufacturing in a garage, which is funny to talk about now. We're all dressed up in our fancy smancy New York apartment, but the truth is, I mean, we really worked as, basically sweatshop employees for the first year.
That's awesome. So what was that time frame like, Devin or Melanie, from the vacation to talking to people, figuring out it's a good idea? And did you put up a website and get the sewing machine at the same time?
So, yeah, all around the same time, because we didn't put up the website until we actually made sure we could manufacture a quality product.
All right, so you went from July 4th weekend, you went on a trip, you hatched the idea with business partners, came back in late August. Late August, you were buying a sewing machine and starting to build a website.
And we were taking orders. We were basically taking orders then, because even without a website. I think right when I was building the basic website. And the website, I think too many people put focus on like everything has to be perfect before they launch an idea. Like we were constantly like behind the ball.
Yeah.
Like, we built a website I think I built it in just a night. I think I pulled an all-nighter.
Late August, early September, you started taking orders.
Yeah.
And you could do this because the typical lead time was maybe a month, 2 months, so you didn't feel stressed about not actually being able to produce it right that minute. So you were taking orders in advance? Or?
Well, that's one of the things we tried to promise is we wanted to be, one of the things that made us, really attractive company in the beginning was that we'd get these orders a lot faster than mom and pop shops would.
Right.
One of the downsides of having a mom and pop shop is that they had to be taking orders or doing customer service during the day, and they usually manufacture at night. And because we had an online store, we could just be making stuff all the time.
So, all right, this is great. And you've brought up a lot of cool things. I always tell people when I get asked for advice on this, it's like generally if you have an idea and you don't have to worry about doing it perfect, just do something and get it out there, and that either you're going to see early sales or early results that regardless if they're profitable or not, they're going to be inspiring enough to let you know, A, you had a great idea, and and then at that point, you can go back and start refining the process and refining things to maximize profits or get it to actually to a profitable standpoint. But I love it. So you guys totally bootstrapped, just ran for it. You were probably losing money in the beginning. What was it like from concept? We kind of established you guys launched August, September, October-ish after thinking about it or coming up with the idea in July. What was your first kind of $1,000 month? Was it early?
Well, we hit $1,000 our first month just because with the sweatshirts being, $80 to $100, and we get one order, it's a couple grand.
Okay. All right. So moving along. Did you guys have a mentor when you started out?
Probably your dad.
Yeah, I mean, not really. Someone that had been in this specific industry. My family is very entrepreneurial, so just that whole spirit of starting your own business and doing your own thing has always been in my blood. But not someone that's like, oh, what do we do? How do we set up a UPS shipping account? How do we set up a merchant account to accept credit cards? No one that we could go and ask questions like that, really.
All right, so starting out, this was 5 years ago, right?
Yes.
What was first year sales like?
It was probably like around 25 to 30, I would think.
Okay, and I'm assuming that there was very little profit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we were
there was a loss.
spending
'Cause-
that to go to the conferences. I mean,
Yeah.
we were paying $1,000 to put up an exhibit booth, and then flying. We were flying people out to these conferences to go sit at the booth for 3 days of a conference. So their flight, their hotel. I mean, just that in itself, I think we spent close to 20 grand in just trying to market ourselves the first year.
Yeah, but I think after the first 8 months, when we kind of reevaluated the business, even though we had brought in like 25, 30 grand in revenue, we were 40 grand in debt.
Mm-hmm.
What kept you going? I don't know if which question I should ask for. I'll start with this one. So I know at some point your business partners basically just said, we're done, we kind of want out. Was that
Yep.
in that first year?
Yeah, that was after like the first 6 or 7 months. It was probably, if we started in September, it was before the next summer. It was probably in like,
I think it was that summer.
it was May or June probably the next
Okay.
year.
And
That was when school was out, so now it's the slow season. So we kind of reevaluated it and went, how
And
did this first year go?
and you're getting ready to spend a bunch of money flying to more conferences and
Right.
yeah.
Well, at
so-
this point, also, we had moved, so we were, very comfortable in Southern California. We actually decided to move our entire operation to Dallas, Texas.
What kept you going when you got to Dallas and things weren't looking good and sales were
Right.
slow?
So we, that's when basically it's a blessing and a curse. It made us totally reevaluate how our marketing strategy for the business. Having those 2 partners, we had 4 of us in the business, me and Melanie and the 2 partners that could really, they were like our marketing force. And because of having, 4 people, we're like, oh, we can go to conferences, multiple conferences in the same weekend in 2 different locations. Once we lost our partners, we couldn't really do that anymore because Melanie and I had to work on manufacturing and run the whole business ourselves. So it forced us to scrap the idea of going to conferences, which is what was bleeding us. That was causing all the debt.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, we need to try and find another source to get orders. And that's
Did you have one of those like defining moments where you're looking at the cost of a conference, you're looking at the bank account, you're looking at the debt, and you're just like,
Absolutely.
I don't know if we can even afford to do this.
we just knew we couldn't do it.
Right.
Yeah. We're
So
like,
that's when you're like, all right, light bulbs start going off. What can I do? What can I do?
So I stumbled across some blog that talked about search engine optimization. Yes.
So you paid some kid $300 after realizing how important and valuable it could be.
Well, and just essential for our business. We now lost the ability to actually go in person to Greek Rose and knock on doors, and we just didn't have that manpower anymore. So
like,
I think that the lifestyle has kept us going. I mean, we knew, we met my sophomore year of college, and we knew we wanted to be entrepreneurs. We knew we wanted to run businesses together. We knew we wanted to travel whenever we wanted, live wherever we wanted. Devin comes from a very entrepreneurial background. Not at all. I mean, my parents were typical 9-to-5 type of employees, and I saw the life that could be. I saw the life we could have. You just have to go through it. This is how you learn. You learn through doing it. You don't learn through reading about it unless it's SEO.
Well, the cool thing is, you guys probably agree with Lewis and myself and our business and yours. In the early days, you have so much excitement and motivation, and those early wins, no matter how small they are, kind of propel you through all of that hard work and all that labor. And about the time you kind of start losing that excitement is when everything kind of like settles down and becomes consistent and good. Or at least for me, that's kind of been but those small early wins, I look back and I laugh, but some of the biggest moments in our business were like, minuscule compared to the long stretch, but they were the ones coming out. Okay, so sorry, so you guys are you're in Dallas, you read about SEO because you're getting to the point where you can't do the conferences anymore. You hire some kid from Florida, you pay him $300, and then what? You pay him $300 and you're like, all right, cool, we moved up to page 2, but we haven't gotten any orders yet,
we started seeing orders pretty quickly. Within a couple weeks, actually, just by
paying the kid and him doing his work.
Yeah, all he really did was just basic stuff, Sean. Just title tags, basic, just meta tags, a description. The market back 5 years ago, our main competitors were just, all of them didn't understand SEO either, so it didn't take much to rank.
So this was. What would you say it was like in the August, right around a year mark?
Basically a year from when we came up with the original idea.
And you got that first order from Boston or
it was Washington D.C. It was George Washington University. I still have a picture of it on my phone.
Oh, how cool is that? And what was that moment like?
It was amazing. It baffled me at first. I'm just like, we just got an order from Washington D.C. And we're in California. I'm like, that's crazy. And we haven't done any conferences there. We haven't like.
Did you know right away it probably came from the SEO?
Yeah, absolutely. Because every other order before that, we knew where it came from. Oh, we met this kid at a conference. Oh, we've been dealing, because we would always have to do, before we ever got an order, we'd have to do a lot of work with the client. We would meet them at a conference. We'd do a lot of follow up. We'd talk with them about what their order was.
All this stuff that goes into it, and then all of a sudden, one day it's like, holy cow, we just got a huge order placed. We just got an order with no work. Like, we're like, that's so weird. We always had to do it. Our original idea wasn't scalable at all, because we'd have to work with the client and then we'd get the order. But now we got an order without ever knowing the client or ever talking with them. It's just like a bonus order. And we're like, that's amazing. How can we do more of that? Okay, so that was how can you do more of that? Was it, all right, just do more SEO, or did they just start coming in naturally and you rose up the ranks, or?
Right. So yeah, at that point it's like, okay, just study more. Like, that's where we want our business to go. Like, that's as just only do as much of our current plan as possible. We're working with local clients to do the orders just to cover the cost. Everything else, let's put as much time and effort into learning and expanding these orders coming in automatically, which which was SEO, of course, and then it expanded within the next 6 months, expanded into Google AdWords. Expanded into more Facebook, more social media efforts, things like that. As much referral business as possible. We launched an affiliate program because all of our customers know other potential customers because they're in Greek life. They meet every.
So that means basically someone buys an order of 10 sweatshirts. You send them an email saying, "Hey, great! If you know anybody else, you can send them this link, and if they buy anything, you'll get commissions for 20% of the order, or whatever." How did that go? Did that work as well as you thought it might?
Yeah, it was good enough. It helped encourage people to spread the word.
So you guys had gone to a bunch of conferences, spent a bunch of money on that. We're getting dismal results from that. You did the $300 SEO thing, got that first order. What was that next 6 months like? You ventured into further SEO, did more SEO work. Did you see yourself go from page 2 to page 1 to the third position, the second position, the first position? Or?
Yeah, getting onto page 1 was probably another 6 months, and that's probably when we started Google AdWords. So basically, just by getting on page 2, we started getting we went bootstrap again. Like we rented basically just 300 square feet from one of my buddies that had a place in Santa Ana, California, when we moved the factory back to California. So it was only like 300 square feet, because remember, this operation used to be out of my garage, so it was very small. And because it was just me and Melanie, we didn't even have an employee. We would work till 2 or 3 in the morning just to get stuff done.
I remember Devin would be running an order on a machine and using our customer service chat. So we had chat on our computer, and he'd be running the machine, answering a question. Literally, you do it all. You do what needs to be done.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so that next 6 months, what were you saying, Devin? You moved back to California. You started seeing the page 2, started sending a couple orders a day, a couple a week.
Basically, because we were in a manufacturing business, we couldn't it would hurt us to blow up overnight. Because
I get it.
We couldn't fulfill the orders. So we want growth, but only at 10 to 15% a month. Scaling at that, it's expensive. And
did you ever think about that and drill it down? We don't want to grow too fast, or was it just kind of?
Oh yeah, we talked about the first few years were 6 months growing the business, 6 months trying to figure out how to manage that growth. We moved every 6 months for I think 2 years.
We moved every 6 months for 3 years straight into larger factories.
Wow. And we were trying to figure out, we needed more machines. So then trying to figure out, these are $16,000 to $20,000 machines. We now have how many embroidery machines?
There's 14 machines, and we run 3 shifts. So we run 24 hours a day on 14 machines.
But even finding all those machines, trying to figure out other factories to buy them from, where you could buy them semi-used but still have a warranty. And then these machines, they're big pieces of machinery that we would have to wait several weeks for them to arrive. So we would have, managing that growth. The growth was exciting, but it wasn't just, we were talking about this with info products. You create the growth and then you just fulfill it. But with manufacturing, we had times where I remember Devin would come down to me. We ran our first Black Friday sale a few years ago. And I was downstairs and he came down and said, I think we have to turn off the website. I don't think that we can actually make all of this in time for people. And so, there was a lot of stress and stress behind, after we had created that amount of growth, after when the marketing was working, then we had to figure out how to fulfill and actually create a sustainable and profitable business, because we then had employees. But if we didn't manage the staffing correctly, we were paying overtime, and then we were trying to upgrade people's orders to get it to them on time, your profit margin just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So there's been a lot of learning involved.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Melanie, about the scaling, and that's kind of one of the questions I have. How did you handle that scaling? Was it really thought out in the beginning, or was it more just
the biggest thing that was thought out was like, we knew all these areas we could go to try and test to get growth, but like we don't want to try them all, like, because if they work, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Right. So we would hold off. So when we were on page 2 of SEO, that was enough for us. Like, let's just, it was only me and Melanie, and then we started taking on just a part-time employee, and that was just enough. Like, we didn't even pay this kid rent that we were, he just let us use 300 square feet of his place. And, we didn't want to try AdWords yet, because that could sink us. It could be too much growth at once. And then we grew a little bit more. We go up in the rankings. Maybe we try a little bit of AdWords just to get the learning curve, just for a couple key terms, and see if that got us some business, and then, slow it down again. And we finally got our first space. I think it was like 1,500 square feet. We got it next door to my buddy's place. And I just remember it being like, you going back, Sean, seeing like those big wins, but also those really big risk decisions. That was a huge, you're like, this is betting the farm, a really big, man, is this the right decision? You just stress over it forever. And you look back at it now and you're like, it's such a joke. Like, that was such a small decision. But at that time, you're just like, oh my gosh, should we lease our own space? Should we lease our own?
Because we were locked in for, what was it, a year lease?
Yeah, it was a year lease. And that's just scary. Like,
it was going to be like 20 grand.
Yeah, it's such a long-term commitment. Like, we're working ourselves slowly out of debt, finally, trying to get out of that $40,000 hole that we'd created first year with our old business plan.
Were you paying yourselves by year 2 yet?
No. We were not.
We were side jobs, or did you just had money saved up, or support?
We were on our parents' scholarship plan.
All right, so this is year 2. You guys are crushing, or not crushing, but things are looking good. And what was the defining moment that, from a sales perspective, and I guess scaling, it just happened slowly over a 2-year period, where you went from, okay, maybe we can start to pay ourselves, midway through year 2, to, okay, things are pretty good now, and revenues are good, and sales are consistent. And where was that transformation, I guess, from?
Well, I still vividly remember Devin used to have a sound notifier whenever we got an order.
Yes, I love it.
And it would be a cha-ching, like a cash register.
Yeah.
And so whether we were at the office or at home, having friends over for dinner, whenever we got an order, it would cha-ching. And so I think, as we started to slowly, grow and pace ourselves, we would have certain goals. Like, let's see if we can do $10,000 in a day. And we would do some sort of promotion, or, really ramp up our advertising, and we'd hit 10. Oh my God. I remember when we hit our first $10,000 day, we were so excited. We didn't know what to do, so we went out for frozen yogurt. So we were in California, and we're like, we just made $10,000. We need to do something. And so, it was like late night, let's go to Yogurtland. And I remember that day, $10,000, and we went and now it sounds so silly because, we live in Manhattan. So when we really hit a goal, we just do something fantastic, or we take a trip. We've gotten some pretty amazing reward systems set up for ourselves. But I still remember that first $10,000 days. And Yogurtland. We went to Yogurtland to celebrate.
Like you said though, Sean, there's no bigger rush in those early wins. Even with the revenues we have now, I never feel that same excitement as when you're first beginning and you get those small victories.
Yeah.
And you never have as good a feeling again. No matter even if you have a $200,000 day, it's not the same as when you had your first $1,000 day.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And it's kind of a testament to that quote. I forget the quote exactly, but it's something like, it's not about the destination, it's more about the journey.
Absolutely.
And,
it totally is. It really is. It's so true.
Oh, it's cool. All right, so we're getting really long here, and I got a couple more good things I want to get at you. So what was the point though, real quick, you hit that $10,000 day. Was it year 2, midway through year 2, or was it year?
That was probably
3?
year 3 actually.
Mhm.
Okay, so year 3 was about the first moments where you're like, all right, we can start withdrawing an income from this, and
Yeah. And at that point, we had read 4 Hour Work Week and got really sold on the idea of, removing ourselves from this business and creating a lifestyle business. And so we started looking, because all these orders were coming in automatically, we didn't need to go after the orders really, like calling places anymore. So we started working from home more and started removing ourselves from this business and started thinking, what do we want
Is
from
this
this?
in year 3? Is this
That was year 3. This is year 3.
Isn't it funny, just backing up, because I read that book and we talked about this, I think, in New York. It had a big impact on me, but it's funny to me when I think back how young and naive, I don't know, I was and you were when I read that book. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally remove myself from my business. And then that belief actually created the reality.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So we started making decisions and taking risks specifically to make our business take, a shape that could be, like 4 Hour Work Week talked about. So we did things that were not smart in the short term, but fulfilled our long-term goal of being able to live cross country and run this company from New York City that is still in Southern California.
For example, we took a 3-month honeymoon. That was one of the first ways we kind of tested it. Is after we were married, it was slow time, so it wasn't a super high stress thing because it was a slower time in volume. But we thought, okay, let's give this a shot. We're going to leave for 3 months. We traveled all around Europe. We actually rented an apartment in New York for a month. But at that point, we determined, okay, there's still a lot we have to do. So we moved back to California for 1 more year. And that's when we really, like Deb said, we tried to stay out of the office as much as possible. We started to train all of our employees and all of our managers to work with us. We started using Basecamp from 37 Signals. We started to train them. Even though we were just about 20 minutes away, we started to work as though we could have been, across the country or across the world.
Yeah, I think that's important because you guys ultimately had the safety net of being right there and getting in there if you needed to. But
Right.
so that's okay. And just to kind of help, I guess, in whoever's the viewer's mind, how this is even possible. And you guys went 25 grand first year. What was the second year sales like?
Probably like 60.
60, that little. But you
It
it's
was
a big
still small.
improvement. But
Well, because also the whole business plan had changed.
right, and that was right about the time. It was
it was still really low. I mean, we
Okay, how
didn't
was
hit
third year?
our first 6-figure year till probably like year 3 when we finally started breaking even and started being able to pay our own rent.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this then: if so, year 3, you're already thinking about distancing yourself from the business, but barely breaking even, and okay,
Yeah.
interesting. But you could see the potential and see the growth probably.
Yeah, we wanted to start that plan from when we were really small.
Right.
We started looking
it's
at
brilliant.
we-
It's brilliant.
See, the thing was, Sean, like our initial goal had been fulfilled. We can at least cover our expenses. But the thing was, we had a job still.
Right.
It doesn't matter if we own it. We still just work for ourselves. Like, we're working in our business.
At probably
Yeah.
like sweatshop rates.
Yeah, and that's not the lifestyle we wanted,
Right.
and that we thought was that was our ultimate goal. And so we read 4 Hour Work Week and got just inspired with the idea and started thinking, okay, we're still small. We can still tailor this thing to fit the lifestyle that we want.
So it truly was lifestyle design, because when we had this conversation before, I had it in my head that you guys were bringing home multiple 6 figures. You're like, all right, now we need to kind of remove ourselves. And you kind of had that luxury almost to entertain the thought, but you truly designed it from the beginning, which I think is awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Was the removing yourself from the business, was being away for 3 months one of the first times you did that?
It was, and it was the first time, and it scared us to death. I mean, it was totally just that cliff that entrepreneurs just fear. Like, oh my gosh, what if this happens? What if this happens?
Yeah.
And it's terrifying. And we're like, but what do we want more? We want this business to fit this lifestyle that we dream of.
And you spent some time prior to that leaving making sure that those guys had it dialed. And
As much as possible. So the thing is, you never really know until you leave. It's problems you never even guessed could come up.
Okay, so you took that first 3-month thing and you're just like, crap, this could be the death of us, or it could be the beginning of what we designed. What point did you get comfort? 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, that things were running smooth?
It was really interesting. I specifically remember we started working, we took the first few weeks. It was our honeymoon, so we didn't work, but with a little bit, not a lot. But I remember when we got to Paris, we started to be like, all right, we both love to work together. So we started to like, let's go to like the Jardin de Tuileries, which is the garden outside of the Louvre. And we brought our laptops. We're like, okay, let's start like brainstorming. Let's start talking about like, strategically, what do we want to do this year? What are our plans with our business? And I remember we started putting together these ideas. And it was in the Garden of the Louvre in Paris that we decided, let's try Facebook ads. I remember I told Deb, I'm like, you know what? I'm spending a lot of time on Facebook. I think a lot of our customers on Facebook. I think we should advertise. And Deb was like, all right, if you want to advertise on Facebook, go for it. And I think it was very interesting because we had this epiphany. When we were working in California, we would go into our office. We would spend all day doing busy work, basically having someone go. I still remember, like, our customer service girl would be like, the printer's not working. We'd be like, okay, let's go fix the printer.
Stop what you're doing, yeah.
Oh, this guy's here. He has a question for you about, the internet. Okay, great. Go do this. And so we would come into our office, and instead of coming in and doing this broad level of strategy and really figuring out where we wanted to take the business and grow and shape it, we were so in it. And our employees in particular, when we were there, we were accessible. So even though there was stuff they could probably do on their own or figure out, well, if we were just, down the hall, they were going to come in and ask us. And so we were constantly being pulled in tons of different directions. And we were both working on different areas of the business. So the two of us actually would not even see each other in our office all day when really we wanted to work together and kind of harness our marketing and our overall strategy together. So it was unbelievable. I never realized that we would actually become more of an asset to our business by being out of our office, but we did because we were able to work on growing it and managing it in more of a larger scope than we were able to do when we were in our office. And also, it actually trained our managers from early on to be very effective at working on their own.
So you guys are now 5 years in.
Yeah.
And you said, you just did a couple million last year with custom Greek threads?
Yeah, last year was 1.8, and this year is going to be 2.25.
Okay, so it's obviously still growing. It's doing great. How many hours a month do you spend working on that business right now?
Melanie doesn't work in it at all, and I probably spend about 5 hours a month. The thing that really makes it work is that we don't have any salespeople or anything in our office. All the business comes in automatically through automation on the internet. AdWords, SEO, Facebook ads, the campaigns are set and run themselves. So every day, the staff comes in and they just print all the orders that came in the last 24 hours. They had nothing to do with getting them. Their job is they just think it's a magic printer. It just prints off hundreds of orders a day. And their job is just to make them all and to get them out on time. That's all that whole factory has to do.
Do you ever like wake up in the morning and just check to see how many sales you did and then just kind of giggle because like while you slept, you built this machine?
One thing we didn't talk about that we did start to really harness the third year was email marketing.
That was one of my questions. I want to ask about email.
Okay, I won't get
social.
to it, but that was a magical ingredient.
Okay, so, and I'm sure a lot of that happens, that creates that, you're probably saying that because you can send an email at night, and then you see orders coming in all through the night versus the traditional orders,
And the concept of having pop-ups, so you're capturing leads, even, if they don't place an order. The concept of, like Aweber, like follow-up sequences.
Let's talk about that for a second. So you guys built an email. How important is email marketing to your revenue and your business now?
Huge.
So important.
Yeah, huge, absolutely. In every business. And it's something that we do that really sets us apart from our competitors.
Yeah. So you said email marketing is extremely important. How about social? How important is social media marketing?
It's big for us mainly because of our customer base. They're all in college, so they're all going to be online. They're all on Facebook, and they all know potential customers. When you're in a fraternity or sorority, there's potentially thousands of other people on your campus that you probably know, hundreds of them. Mm-hmm. And so, it's very valuable for us to go after, likes and Facebook shares and things like that, because when someone shares something on their news feed, eventually hundreds of their friends that are potential customers
target audience
and see it. Exactly. So it's very important for our strategy. And that's something that's really helped us grow really quickly.
You guys, this is what I think is really cool here. You then went to the Internet Marketing Conference, saw an idea, and I know you've built a multi-million-dollar business, I think, or close to that. From that, I don't even really want to get into that, but I just think it's fascinating how you've kind of grown in a lot of different ways and done that. So you've done that. let me ask you this now. What does a typical day look like? A typical day or week or month look like for the two of you as far as your involvement in your Greek threads, the custom monograms, businesses look like?
Melanie has nothing to do with it.
Right.
And, well, for those businesses, you don't.
With luxury monograms?
Well, what do you do with luxury monograms?
I still handle a lot of our...
Anyways.
How many hours?
He doesn't know what I do, apparently.
Not
Very little. Everything we work on is to lay a foundation so we don't have to go back and do it again.
Got it.
So the things that we work on, like I'm still handling a lot of our customer service, training our manufacturing on certain areas where we're doing promotions for our luxury monograms, but it's doing things once that you shouldn't have to do again, because ultimately, like
Putting
how
the
I
right
spend no
systems
time.
in place.
Yeah, putting systems, exactly. Because now that we have custom Greek threads running really smooth, luxury monograms is just about right there. And most of our day-to-day is now just putting those systems into place.
That's awesome. Okay, so Devin, you said earlier you work about 5 hours a month with custom Greek threads.
Right.
What do you guys do with your time? I mean, Melanie, it sounds like you're both still a little bit involved with the luxury monograms, getting that more active and streamlined. But what do you do with your times? You know what I mean?
Basically, for the last 7-8 months, has been working on the info product, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. And that's
getting
your
that
new
launched.
kind of like multi-million-dollar business you've built and run.
Yeah, that's been our biggest focus. So other than the half a dozen hours I spend on custom Greek threads, which mainly that is just submitting payroll and then going over, I get daily and weekly reports from each of my managers.
What's been the most influential business book you've ever read? And kind of what did you take? How did you apply it towards your business? Why? Why was it, I guess?
I would say Rework. Again, that's, from 37 Signals, Basecamp. Love them. Love them.
Yeah.
But I just love the mentality. I think because I didn't grow up with an entrepreneurial background, I always thought a business is this so intimidating, overwhelming, like you have to have hundreds of staff and it has to be so complicated. And I loved how Rework kind of turned that on its head and was like, no, the smaller the better, the leaner the better. I love the analogy they use of the big ship. It always sticks with me. Like the bigger the ship, the harder it is to kind of turn it and to navigate and to, quickly make decisive actions and moves. And that's so important. That's one of the most important lessons I've learned from running businesses is you have to stay so flexible. You have to be able to change something on a whim if you need to change it. And I think that's a lot of large corporations don't do or don't go where they should because they've already got such a practice in place. They don't stay nimble. And so I love Rework. I think a lot of their ideas of staying small, staying smart, staying bootstrapped really are important to remember even as you do hit those multiple million-dollar marks as a corporation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel they cover so many different concepts. There's something in there for every type of business owner that so many different people I talk to have a different aha moment from that book.
Yeah.
It's not just one concept. There's so many different things. I love the thing about just getting projects shipping quicker. Get projects completed. Keep them small and nimble so you can complete them and see points of accomplishment. So many projects get bloated and oversized and they can never ship and never, become active. And as business owners, it's so important to keep them really small so you can do a little bit of work and see its results. Do a little bit of work and see its results instead of some large scale thing. Yes. How many times do we hear other business owners talk about I've been working on my website for the last year. It's just what? I mean, there's really no project we should ever work on that takes more than 10 days.
What's the biggest mistake you guys made in business so far?
Website.
Well, yeah, there's two answers to that. So one of them was about a bloated project, and it was trying to get build a custom website, and it just getting let's add this too. Oh, let's add this too.
God.
I'm just keeping it streamlined. I mean, we all know how that can go, and it never even launched. I ended up just scrapping it, and I wasted probably about $100,000 to $120,000 on it, and never even used it.
God, how funny!
Still drives you crazy.
What was your takeaway from that experience?
Well, probably the same lesson we learned from Rework, to be keeping projects always super small and we can reach a goal within X amount of days. And if we can't, it's not a project we want to take on. A project should always be able to be broken down into small, bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
And then never take on a project until you have it broken into those chunks.
Mm-hmm.
God, it's such a good, that's solid advice. All right. The number one reason our company is successful is...
Because we always stayed really flexible. Our original idea for at least custom Greek threads morphed into something totally different than what we started it as because we allowed ourselves to be open to our feedback from our customers and constantly change and adapt to where the need was and where the desire was in the market.
Oh, God, I love it. All right. The number one reason we are not growing faster is?
Because we can't fulfill the orders well enough. We can't keep up to our reputation. Like the same reason we would cut our Black Friday sale. Like we could have done a lot more, but if we can't over deliver on something, I'd rather take less revenue and keep our reputation pristine.
If you could give one or two pieces of advices to entrepreneurs, and you guys have, just given a tremendous amount, so I'm really grateful. This has been awesome. But if just summing it up, I guess the entire interview we've done so far, if you could give 1 to 2 pieces of advice to an entrepreneur, what would that be from your experience?
Mine would be to just start. This is probably bad, but you don't need a business plan. Like, you need to have an idea and you need to have very small ways to start putting it out there. But I think, like you said it earlier, I loved it. It was paralysis by analysis, something
analysis
like
paralysis, yeah.
Yeah, analysis paralysis. I think that you just need to get something out there. And I have tons of friends here in New York City that have all of these great ideas floating around and cheesy, but it is not about the idea, it's the execution. So you need to just do it. Our website, if I showed our first website to you, you would barf. Like, it's awful. It's awful. But we had a website. And then
I have the same story.
Yeah, but it got better and better and better. Our first sweatshirt, we made girls cry. But it got, now they cry because they're like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. I love it.
Oh, that's great.
It's only going to get better by doing it. So just start. Just start. We started with some of the ugliest messes ever, but you just turn it into something. So that would be my advice is you just have to start to get to where you want to be.
Devin, she probably took your words, but what would you say?
My biggest advice would be to stay bootstrapped. Keep your expenses low while you're starting. It's always going to take longer than you think, and it's never going to work out like you think. No matter how many of your friends tell you it's such a great idea and how fast you're going to be successful, it's always going to take way longer, and you're going to lose determination. Keep your expenses low. You're not going to be able to keep up a pace while you took on all this debt, or you quit your other job because you just know if you're going to be successful within a month. Like, keep another source of income, be able to cover your expenses, be able to have no expenses in this new business, so you can keep exploring and doing tests. With our first business, even though I didn't know that in the beginning and we went $40,000 in debt,
that wasn't in the business plan, right?
Well, yeah, definitely not. But it's the same thing. Like, oh, of course it's going to work. Of course we're going to be successful. Yeah. Everyone thinks that when they start the business. But if we didn't, we could have quit if we weren't able to, still be on our parents' dime. Luckily, which not everyone has that blessing. Mm-hmm. But we were able to then, second time around, we were able to stay in the business long enough to reevaluate and change things and find success again. But it's very rare. Don't ever think you're going to be successful with your first idea. You always have to get it in the market, learn from it, change it, tweak it. I don't know anyone that's ever kept their business plan or their business idea the same before they launched to what it is when it was successful. They've always changed
successful.
Something.
The people that fail are the ones that have this rigid idea of what they want to create, and they won't allow feedback to shape it and turn it into what it should be.
Right.
But I love what Devin said, and I think it's an important message to drive home. All 3 of our businesses took longer to become profitable and made less money. Like, I originally started Luxury Monograms. I'm like, this is brilliant. We're going to turn on the website, millions of dollars. It's going to flow in. And it ended up taking about 6 months to right around a year to get to that level we were looking for.
Millions of dollars flowing in?
No, not that level.
But I think that it does. Like CDT, you heard it really took about 3 years.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. That's cool.
Instant gratification kind of plagues our society.
Right.
And the truth is, the business owner, it is about that perseverance. It's about, the reason we outlasted our partners is because we just knew we had to make this work. And within about 6 months later, it did. And I think a lot of people kind of quit right on that doorstep of success. They're right there and they stop, and it's just that little, there's no extra traffic in the extra mile. There's no traffic in the extra mile. It's that little bit of extra time and a little bit of extra effort that's where it is. That's where the success is.
God, I love what both of you guys said. We did a webinar with Robert Greene, the author of 48 Laws of Power,
Mhm.
50th Law and some other new book called Mastery. And someone asked that kind of question. I'm ready to quit my job and go into this. And he said, you know what? It takes a long time to kind of be a master at something. And if you want to reach the kind of success that you do, you're going to need to be a master at it. If I were you, I wouldn't cut off your lifeline, which is the thing you hate, your job now. I would keep it and then start spending as much free time as I could. Don't watch TV, don't play on the computer, whatever, but spend as much free time as you could researching your new thing, learning it, becoming good, honing your craft. And at that point, you're not cutting everything off because you're already at a certain level where you're going to see success once you do make that cut. And
Right.
I love what you said, Melanie. That's the advice I always give too, because I know for me personally, had I not just taken some leaps of faith and just gone after it and done it, and my whole life's kind of been that way, just diving in head first and doing it. Even like you said, our first website, I built it myself, knowing nothing about code. I'm like Googling like little snippets of code, how to do it, and then doing it, hitting save like right at the last minute, and like had we not just taken that leap of faith and done it, we wouldn't be where we're at. I have friends now that make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and they're horrible at what they do, but they do it and they execute it. I look at what they do and I'm like, oh my God, it looks horrible, but it works and it makes money, and it's just because they do it and they've constantly learned and refined. So I love both those answers. I guess that I'm just turn it over to you for any final words. I know I already asked for your last advice, but any final words, and then we'll wrap it up and get the show on the road.
Yeah, I would just say, thank you for those of you that have watched this in its entirety, or, whatever we ended up with. I just want to say thank you, because I know when we started, we didn't know a lot of other entrepreneurs, and we didn't really have anyone giving us feedback or guidance. And the last year or so, we've taken on some mentors, and it's unbelievable the growth you can see when you stand on the shoulders of other people. It's a night and day experience. So for those of you that are here, have watched this, I hope that there's been something that has really struck home with you, or something that'll really help to inspire you to do what you've been waiting to do, because I wake up every day and I feel so blessed for the life that we have together. And it's really because we have just made that decision to move forward and take action.
Right.
So hopefully that will be beneficial to some of you that have watched this.
Where can people find you? So there's customgreekthreads.com. What are the other sites?
Yeah, so Custom Greek Threads, if you need any Greek apparel, for those of you, if you've enjoyed, some of our stories, some of our videos, you can go to melanieduncan.com. We've got a lot more video footage there, articles, resources. Love to connect with you further on that site.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks again so much. It's been a real
Thanks,
pleasure.
Sean. It's been a pleasure.
All right, man. Talk to you guys later.
All right.
We'll see you.